Megan and I have had quite the history on the road together since we've been in FFA. Like the time we got lost going to State Fair and ended up going to Chicago. Or the time she locked all her stuff in her car and we had a jacket open with the clothes hanger. Or the time, my favorite time, we went to Trafalgar and we were running late because of her, and we had to cut through a construction site. That was quite the trip. But in the long run, we were also in official dress when we didn't need to be, so that was even better. But through all the mess ups we have made, Megan hasn't changed from doing the one thing she enjoys most, inspiring us to reach our highest potential, no matter how far out of reach it is, like she has done for me my entire life. So I'm proud to present my best friend and your 2010-2011 Indiana FFA State Secretary, Megan Klotz.
Let me paint you a picture. It's hot, it's June. When I unzip my FFA jacket, a sonic boom of heat is unleashed. It's state convention, and I had just been elected to a state office. Now, my advisor was a state officer back in the Stone Age, and besides talking about inventing the wheel, creating fire, he often talked about the banquets he went and spoke at. Not having my own chapter banquet and hearing my very old wise owl talk about banquets made me look forward to banquet season as a state officer. Now, I've been to all kinds of banquets these past couple months, and there's 3 things we gotta do. First, when you get there, you gotta try and spot out the table that's gonna eat first. Second, sigh when you realize you're probably gonna be last to eat. And third, pile as much food on that flimsy styrofoam plate as possible. But besides the good food, there's another reason why we're there. We're there to celebrate the actions that FFA members have taken. Now, I was way up north near Michigan. I'm driving and there's Amish buggies on the road everywhere. I look to my left, dairy cattle. I look to my right, dairy cattle. Every gas station I stopped at had no sweet tea. I was literally and completely lost until I finally saw the sign for West Noble High School. I pulled in the parking lot. No one was there. I was an hour and a half early to the banquet, which I had drove 3.5 hours to get to. What was I gonna do in Amish country for an hour and a half? So I went to McDonald's, got my $1 hot fudge sundae, sat in the Dollar General parking lot, and I ate it like a complete loser. Finally, it was time for the banquet to start. I sat there waiting very impatiently to go up on stage. I was so tired and so ready to get that speech over with. There was some young lady giving the creed on stage. I couldn't get over myself to listen. And there was this mom just waving her hands in the front row. How rude. It wasn't until I was giving my speech that I realized that the mother waving her hands was speaking in sign language to her deaf daughter. Actions speak a lot louder than words. 6 weeks later, I found myself at home in Putnam County. I was at the North Putnam FFA chapter banquet. There were kind enough FFA members to sit with me and keep me company, and one awesome dad named Ed. Now, Ed seemed a little lost. I wasn't sure if it was because he was at least 20 years older than the rest of us, or he was a little confused when we kept telling each other to tuck in our tallywhackers. Despite his age, Ed laughed, joked, and acted like the rest of us. He was the biggest kid at heart. After giving my speech about my grandpa and his battle with cancer, and before leaving the banquet, Ed stopped me, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "Thank you." My wife passed away last August from cancer. Thank you for your kind words. Now, my chapter, we never had a home chapter banquet, but we did have a really cool year-end trip to Holiday World. That year, I was waiting in line with 4 other senior FFA members and Jerry, one of our chaperones. Now, Pilgrim's Plunge is a water ride. My biggest fear is water. I distinctly remember looking at this massive harness thinking, all right, Meg, it'll hold you in, you're not gonna die. And if you get really scared, it's okay, because it's a water ride. So we got on the ride. We went once, completely awesome. The park was about to close, and the cool guy in front of the ride let us go again. But this time, Sarah and I, we weren't gonna sit in front. We were gonna sit in back where those 2 little girls were, and they were gonna move. To be completely honest, we bullied them into moving. But we went, and all of a sudden, our boat hit the boat in front of us. Now, this caused some kind of malfunction, so the ride stopped. 20 minutes passed, and some water started to pour into our boats. 20 more minutes passed, and enough water poured in, sending our boat off the track with us harnessed in, completely submerging us in water. Adrenaline kicked in like never before. I slid out underneath that harness, which later left massive bruises on my legs. But I was free. That little girl in the back, she wasn't. People were screaming, crying, nothing short of panicking. But Jerry didn't. Jerry just acted. Jerry told Tyler, one of our biggest boys on the football team, and coincidentally a lifeguard, to pull up on the harness. Tyler, shaking, pulled the harness up just enough to where Jerry could pull the girl out. She was so scared and trying to cry. Jerry just held her in his arms. Actions speak a lot louder than words. It was my last chapter banquet. I was on my way back to the FFA Center on the phone with Mom and Dad. They told me I probably couldn't drive through all the tornadoes safely and advised me to pull over and stay at someone's house. So I called one of our state staff, Mrs. Arians, and she said to come on over. This meant that I got to stay with Seth Arians, one of the funniest, smartest, and loudest little 7-year-old boys anyone will ever meet. We're downstairs, and Seth is introducing me to all of his toys. One of his toys was his mother's piano. Trying to save Seth's hide, I try to lure him to some other toys. But Seth looks at me and says, "You know what? What? I have a big imagination." Do you? Yeah? You want to know why? Why? Because I'm really smart. Really? Yeah. You want to know why? Why? Because I got a big head. After hearing that little boy say that, he marched over that piano, pulled the cover up, and started playing one of the most beautiful songs I'd ever heard, never having taken any piano lessons. His actions spoke a lot louder than his words. Now, the mother at West Noble never had to speak the words, "I love you," to her daughter. Her actions literally spoke for her. Ed, at North Putnam, he had lost the love of his life and the mother of his son, but his actions portrayed him to be the life of the banquet. We were screaming and panicking. Jerry just acted and saved a life. Seth's age, her physical disabilities, and their emotional disabilities did not stop them. Because when we can't think of the words to say, simply let our hearts do the talking. Let me paint you one more picture. It's hot, it's June, it's state convention, and I'm retiring as a state officer. Actions speak a lot louder than words. And there are no words that I can speak that speak louder than these actions. For the actions that have left me completely speechless this year. For the actions taken by FFA members, parents, and advisors. Thank you, for your actions have spoke volumes.
It's your life, what you gonna do? The world is watching you every day. The choices you make, say what you are and who your heart beats for. There's an open door. It's your
Megan Rose, the challenges make the journey not only more memorable, but more beautiful. Thank you for a year full of smiles, laughs, and adventures. You have given us these things which will carry us through a lifetime. We won't miss you. We'll just be really, really, really excited to see you again. Infinitely thankful and changed forever. Kelly, Jana, Nellie, Dawson, Micah, and Gad. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to give Miss Megan Klotz her retiring officer address. Here she is for the last time, your State Secretary, Megan Klotz. Advance and never halt, for advancing is perfection. Advance and do not fear the thorns in the path.